Speak Code, Support Strategist, by Clouds, Man of the Clouds Not Coming Down, on AO3. Chapter 77, Woods. Izuku and Mei had ended up just stashing their bags in one of the many nest spots they made in the tunnels. Izuku threw his duffel bag down with a huff and turned to Mei, who was already dusting herself off to leave again. I know you know we can find a more creative spot. We're not going to win any extra points for this. Nah, that's what we have extra criticon for, Mei dismissed. And this way, we don't waste any more valuable lab time. I want to see the fun toys Melissa-chan brought. Well, what are you waiting for? Let's go! She grabbed Izuku's hand and started dragging him away, but both of them stopped short when they saw Melissa crawling towards them through the tunnels. She grinned and looked around as she dusted herself off. This looks cozy. I love what you've done with the place. Melissa? Izuku gaped at her. How did you get in here? It took us forever to figure out the entrances. Melissa giggled. And it took me even longer. You forget that I've been visiting Uncle Mite since I was a little girl. Nezu usually invited Dad over for tea, and I was free to explore. These tunnels are every nerdy kid's dream. Seriously. Did you and your dad bring us any fun toys? Mei bounced up and down with excitement. What did you bring me? Explosive? Trackers? Computer chips? I need toys for my babies. Don't worry, I'm sure you'll be super happy with everything we brought you, Melissa said. And we didn't forget about you, Izuku. Turns out that scientists Dad works with have been able to learn a lot about the theory of relativity from the data you collected when Uraraka was jumping around Island, and they've figured out some tweaks you can make to help get some more exact readings. I brought their research for you to read over. It's just waiting back in Powerloader's classroom. Izuku's eyes widened, and he grabbed Mei's hand. Well, what are we waiting for? We're wasting valuable lab time. Let's go. Hitoshi was grateful that Mei had insisted on him getting some muscle building training, because otherwise he would have been completely useless against these literal, brainless dirt monsters. He declared another one with a fallen branch and ran away forward, eyes darting around as he watched Ochako zip around helping everyone. If only he could get to the lady who was actually controlling these things and brainwash her. But they left her back with Aizawa, and there was no way he'd be able to climb all the way up that cliff again. Hitoshi facepalmed, leaving a trail of dirt across his forehead. He was an idiot. Ochako, he yelled. I need you to get me to Dad. What? Ochako appeared right next to him. Why? I think one of those women he was with earlier is controlling the dirt, Hitoshi explained. If she's still with him, then I can use Aizawa as an anchor and you could brainwash her. Ochako smiled brightly enough that Hitoshi's breath caught in his throat. Shindig, that's brilliant. Are you ready? Hitoshi took a deep breath to steady himself. As I'll ever be. Let's just get it over with. The world's shortest and most intense roller coaster later, Hitoshi was kneeling outside a house he'd never seen before, Aizawa nowhere in sight. Where are we? And more importantly, where are they? Ochako pointed at the building. Just up ahead, most likely just inside that building. I landed us a bit further away just in case you needed a minute. Hitoshi swallowed some bile and stood. Good idea. They'll be expecting a teleportation attack, but this way we can just sneak up on them. You get Dad and make sure he can't cancel my quirk. I'll focus on Pussycat. Ochako nodded once and followed Hitoshi as he silently made his way towards the house. They were almost there, crouching behind a bush near the front entrance, when Ochako suddenly tugged on his sleeve. What are you? Oh. A little kid, the same one that had been with the pussycat, at the drop-off point, was staring straight at him, mouth open wide, as he saw them trying to sneak in. Hitoshi shot a panicked glance at Ochako, but she obviously didn't know what to offer either. So, He did the next best thing he could think of. He raised a finger to his lips and whispered, "Shh!" Instantly, the kid's expression fell into a hateful glaze. "Auntie, some of the hero brats got here early." "Why would you do that for?" Ochako hissed. "You couldn't just—" "You're just a bunch of stupid heroes." The kid spat. "Why would I ever help you?" Hitoshi had been fiddling with his capture weapon, rearranging the parts that made it a voice changer and hoping he got the right because there was no way Aizawa was going to give him a second chance. "Auntie, can you make them leave?" The kid's eyes widened, and Hitoshi smirked behind his weapon as Ochako launched forward and shoved her hands over the kid's mouth. They froze at the pair of footsteps running out of the front door. "No, I can't. Don't be rude, Koda." Ochako released Koda with a yelp when he bit hard on her hand. "That wasn't me!" Hitoshi didn't let him finish before taking control. "Call off the dirt monsters." The woman didn't move, and Hitoshi glanced at Ochako, who disappeared, only to be back a second later, shaking her head. "We must have gotten the wrong one." "Let her go!" Koda launched himself at Hitoshi and started kicking and punching him, so much that it took all of his concentration and training to keep his control of whatever they had. They couldn't afford to let her go, though. Not until they had the right one. "Let her go right now!" A blonde woman came rushing out of the house. "Koda, what are you doing?" "He's got an auntie!" Koda had tears in his eyes, and Hitoshi had to force down a twinge of guilt as Ochako cut in. "He's not even touching her," Ochako lied. "How could he have her?" Hitoshi gave his best, innocently confusing smile. "Can I have a little help here?" "Of course." Pixie Bob moved forward to help, only to stop short as Hitoshi took control. He spat out a mouthful of dust. "You better be the one with the dirt monsters. Call them off." Ochako disappeared and reappeared with a relieved smile. It worked. Could have glared at them both. "This is about the stupid training exercise, isn't it?" "Yes, it is." Dad's voice echoed behind them, and both Ochako and Hitoshi jumped to their feet. "I knew you'd figured out that this was the most logical course of action eventually, but I honestly thought the execution would be cleaner." Hitoshi winced. "Sorry, we got the wrong pussycat first." Dad raised one eyebrow. "Yeah, I saw that. Now let them go." "But if we let them go, the blonde one will just make more dirt monsters," Ochako argued. "That would defeat the whole purpose of it in the first place." "The kid needs to know his aunts are okay," Dad said gently. "You won the spar, and Pixie Bob will honor that. Now let her go." "Okay." Hitoshi let them out, and they immediately went to comfort the kid. "I'm sorry, Dad." Dad just rolled his eyes and ruffled Hitoshi's hair. "It's okay, kid. We all forget and go too far sometimes. The biggest thing is making sure you know your limits, and the limits of people around you to make sure that doesn't happen. That's why intelligence gathering is so important." Hitoshi still felt kind of guilty about the whole thing, but was starting to feel a little better until the kid glared at him from underneath his aunt's arms. "You're nothing but a no-good, dirty, rotten villain." Mayday gasped. "Koda!" Hitoshi shrunk in on himself. He could see Ochako starting forward, but before he could stop her, Aizawa put a hand on her shoulder. Hitoshi didn't think he'd seen him so pissed since he'd taken him away from his old foster parents. "Hitoshi, why don't you and Uraraka go help your classmates? I'm sure they'll need it." Hitoshi took a deep breath. Distance and de-escalation. That was exactly what they needed. He grabbed Ochako by the arm. "Yeah, they're hopeless." It was only when he saw Dad trying to hide a soft smile behind his capture weapon that he knew he hadn't done anything too wrong and everything was going to be okay. Ochako waited until they were out of earshot in the woods to go off. "That little jerk! How dare he call you a villain like that? You're a hero through and through, and that brat deserves... Hitoshi cut her off. I mean, we kinda did kidnap his aunts. I wasn't even thinking beyond the objective to realize how hard that must have been for him to watch. Still, Ochako huffed and ran her fingers through her hair. You didn't deserve that, especially not after you did so well capturing both of them. Yeah, me and Izuku would be proud, Hitoshi joked. The kidnappee grew up to be a kidnapper. Ah, they grew up so fast. Ochako wiped a fake tear from her eyes. What would May say if we told her our first date was kidnapping people? Hitoshi choked on his next breath. Our what? Ochako's eyes went wide. Oh my god, I'm so sorry. I was thinking out of context, and then I thought it'd be funny because Mina would freak, but obviously this is a training exercise and not a date. That would be ridiculous. Not that I'll oppose to a date, but you already knew that because I also accidentally told you I had a crush on you. Hitoshi caught a hint of light swirling around her as she gathered her quirk to leave, and he moved before he could think, reaching out to take her hand and act as her anchor. Ochako looked at him. Yes? Hitoshi's mouth was dry, so he cursed internally as he found himself reverting back to his oldest coping mechanism and saying the snarkiest thing he could think of. Do you really think I couldn't plan a better first date than fighting dirt monsters? I'll pull out the actual monster at least. There was a beat of silence before Ochako snorted. Oh yeah? What else? Hitoshi gulped. Maybe a walk around the park and some mochi? His heart soared when Ochako smiled. Okay then, it's a date. Mike was going to blow his eardrums out when he heard about this. Dabi looked out the window at the darkening sky and down the rest of his drink. All right, let's go. The rest of the league, except for Shigaraki, who was holed up who knows where, nodded and stood, the only complaint coming from Muscular. I'd much rather get straight to killing people than waste a whole day scooping things out. Knowledge is power, Compress reminded him. If we don't know the layout of the land, the heroes will strike back long before we could even set eyes on our target. Not to mention the extra day will lure the heroes into a false sense of security, Dabi added. What with that, and the mini attack on our mall that day, they won't suspect an attack until their students are already injured. They won't stand a chance. Are you ready? Kirigiri asked, already opening a portal. Dabi nodded and stepped through, waiting for everyone to get to the other side before turning to address the group. All right, number 1 rule of tonight, don't get seen. If you mess up, Trapper said they confiscated all the students' cell phones, so make sure the kid doesn't have a chance to run back to camp, and we should be good. Sensei's using a quirk to track him, but his cover is still intact, so don't expect him to say hi or answer your calls if you see him. Be back here by 3 a.m., or you'll be getting left behind. Izuku had spent the whole day looking over the research Melissa had brought him and checking it against his program. Thankfully, he didn't have to restructure his entire program, but the minor changes looked like they were going to make a big difference. He wished he could test it out by tracking Ochako, but he didn't finish making tweaks until after dinner, and by that point she was already staying put, so he'll have to wait until she was training tomorrow to see if it worked. He also witnessed his search net. He also widened his search net, since none of the students knew exactly where the training camp was, so he wouldn't even know where to look for her signature until he caught her teleporting. Alright, kids, you have 10 more minutes, and we're kicking you out of the labs, Powerloader yelled. Taking breaks is important. You don't have to sleep, but you do need to switch gears so you could come back tomorrow with a fresh brain. Izuku smiled when he looked through the open door of his workroom and saw May, doubling her pace, yelling orders at Melissa, who had been helping look over her project. She would have stayed in the labs all night if she could, but Izuku guessed that wasn't that odd, since Powerloader said that they had a curfew at camp every single year. Support students must get hyper-focused more than other courses did. He got a ping on his computer and frowned. Ochako should be resting, too, not teleporting at a time of night. He opened the map and almost fell out of his chair. He knew what Ochako's Grabinese signatures looked like, and this wasn't it. No, even with the tweaks of his program, this signature was a little spread out. Not to the point where he couldn't figure out where it was, but to the point where it looked cloudy, for lack of a better word. And he'd seen this signature before. Izuku hurried to open the program on his laptop, making sure to triple check that the data was there and saved before running out of his room and dashing into the hall towards Nezu's office. The door opened just before he ran into it, and Nezu smiled at him, 2 cups already set out and ready. "Hello, Midoriya," Nezu chipped happily. "I apologize, the tea is still simmering. You ran here so fast than expected. That training with Shinso must be paying off." "I have a location for Kirigiri," Izuku blurted out. Immediately, Nezu's mood changed. He was still smiling, but it was more intense, and the teacups got pushed to the side as he reached for Izuku's laptop. "Are you certain?" "Not completely," Izuku admitted, "but the gravity signals I'm picking up matches what I've theorized about the way his quirk works. My only question is what they're doing in the middle of nowhere. I could have thought their hideout would be in a city close to action where they could easily get info and not have to rely too much on warping to get everywhere, but they're nowhere near anything." Interesting. Nezu glanced down at the map and froze, his hair standing slightly on end. "Midoriya, you're absolutely certain this isn't Uraraka's warping, correct?" "Yeah, hers doesn't look like that." Izuku nodded. "It's more like a lightning strike, not a cloud." "Very well, then," Nezu nodded. "Do you mind if I hold on to this until tomorrow? I do believe that your class's current assignment is to take a mental break." Sure?" Izuku narrowed his eyes. "Is something wrong?" "That remains to be seen," Nezu said. "But if so, we have a team of heroes ready to help, and you're right here in case we need your expertise. Don't you worry, I know what I'm doing, young Midoriya." "Okay." Izuku frowned. "I'll try." Nezu smiled softly. "That's all I ask. Sleep well, and thank you for bringing this to our attention. Have a great night, Midoriya." Izuku nodded and walked away. It was going to be a weird night. Am I a big shipper on Hitoshi and Ochako? No, I didn't even know that ship was a thing before this fanfic. Do I really think it's cute in this fanfic specifically? Yes. Will I be shipping them from here on out? No, not really. It's a cute ship. It's adorable. It's, nice. Am I gonna ship it? No. It's not like I think it's cute. I ship it here. I don't ship it anywhere else. That's just my little, insider. I don't really ship it. This isn't like with Permanent Ink with the Denki Baku or whatever the ship is called. I didn't know that was a ship, and after that fanfic, I ship it. I don't see many people ship it either. It's a good ship, right? So, Hitoshi and Ochako, they finally get a date. That's nice. That's cool. I love that, Alright. Did Izuku single-handedly just stop the villain attack from happening? Or prevent it from being as bad as it would have been? I'm very interested on that. And, because, I don't know. What's gonna happen? I'm on the edge of my seat. Is Tomura finally going to go rogue and go, hero? And by hero, I mean, go to the heroes, help the heroes, turn against All For One. What's gonna happen? I'm on my edge. I'm on the edge of my seat. I need more. Hand it over. But yeah. Okay. As for videos for Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, I'm not sure if I'm gonna be able to, pull out all the videos that I need to, right? So there might be some videos that just won't be uploaded, right? Because I have to, record 12 videos in, an hour. I have an hour tonight, right? It's Friday. And then, depending if I go help my mom with her small business, I have either the whole day till I get picked up from my dad, or I have, 2 hours. No, not 2 hours. Think a little more than 2 hours. Let's see. At the least, 4, 5 hours. You know? At the very least. At the most, 6. You know, depending if he gets early or not, because sometimes he does arrive an hour or 2 before. And, you know, most of the time, I mean, like, all the time. There's only been, like, once or twice, you know, so I'm going to prioritize Cheat Code Support Strategist and Villainous Heroics, because those 2 are ones that I don't want to be left on cliffhangers. So, yeah. I'm going to record those first. So, the middle ones, so, at odds and ends, or I don't know, I never pronounce it correctly, but that one specifically, the Vampire Hisashi and Vampire Slayer Yamada. Hold up, that's the same person. Aizawa. I meant to say Aizawa. I will record that, and also How to Train Your Useless Dragon, after I've recorded the 6 videos for this one, and then the one that's the last one, the Villain's Heroics. Mainly because these are the 2 that I am reading with you guys, and I don't want to be left on a cliffhanger for 3 days. And I'm sure you guys don't want to be left on a cliffhanger either, but also at the same time, you're going to be left on a cliffhanger for the other 2. Hopefully, I make it and I, you know, record all the videos and you guys don't get left on a cliffhanger. Worst case scenario, you get left on a cliffhanger. I think you'll live. You'll live. You'll be okay. You'll live. But as soon as I come back, it's roll. So on Tuesday, back to regular schedule. It's just, this kind of snuck up on me, and I was supposed to dedicate all of today and all of tomorrow, and I was going to be able to make it. But unfortunately, today's plans changed, you know, last minute. And yeah, it is what it is. Life happens and stuff like that. I could technically get by and do all 12 videos if I don't sleep, eat, or, you know, do the basic necessities, or limit the basic necessities as much as I physically possibly can, but I'm not gonna do that. I take care of myself, just as I expect you guys to take care of yourself. I'm saying this as I'm drinking Monster, but I deserve this Monster, okay? Just saying. I've drinking water today, so as always, my raindrops, make sure to eat, sleep, drink water, take your meds. Have a wonderful day or night. Link to my Discord server and my socials are down in the description. Subscribe to see more of my content, and thank you so much for watching.